Welcome once again to the Joycelyn Talk Show, this and every Friday. So today I happen to be at the Volta Vic Charles Hotel right here in Hull. If you want a very conducive place just to relax, a very cool place, all you have to come to is the Volta Vic Charles Hotel. So you join me as we start the show. Hello, welcome once again to the Joycelyn Talk Show, this and every Friday. I know by now you know the handles. That's the Joycelyn Talk Show, TheJoycelyn on Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and on YouTube. So we've been going around on the topic before you say I do, and by now I know you know my program is all about before you say I do, the things you need to take note of before you marry. Because when you marry, there is little you can do to change things. You can only do the amendments now before you marry. So on that note, I have a professional in the house today. And he is a professional counselor, a clinical psychologist. He is the counselor for the Dean of Students at the Hull Technical University and also a lecturer there. So, his name is Mr. Sedem N. Amedumi. Mr. Sedem, welcome.
Thank you very much for
Hi.
having me on the show.
Thank you for honoring our invite.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
By the grace of God, I'm okay.
Okay.
I'm doing fine.
So we are in the era of coronavirus. Any education to our listeners?
Well, the truth is, we just need to accept that the virus is real and try as much as possible to take all the precautionary measures, follow all the protocols that have been laid down for our interactions. And I believe personal safety first and all others can follow. So let's keep safe.
Let's keep safe.
Yes.
That is what he has said. So without wasting time, Mr. Sedem, who is a clinical psychologist? So that our clients or our viewers will know who we are talking to today and what he does.
Okay, a clinical psychologist is a mental health professional with a high quality training in the diagnosis and then the psychological treatment of mental, behavioral, and emotional diseases.
Okay.
So let me be quick to add that the clinical psychologist, unlike the psychiatrist, does not prescribe medication. He uses all the psychological theories and psychological therapies. For instance, like the cognitive behavioral therapy, in trying to help people recover from mental illness, emotional and behavioral illnesses or challenges.
Okay.
So that's a clinical
So
psychologist.
we clinical psychologists do more with mental, emotional aspects of people.
Behavioral aspect of people, yes.
Okay. So now you know who we are talking to. So they are responsible for understanding why people behave the way they behave. So, Mr. Sedem, my question is it important to even try knowing or understanding the psychological personality of a person before you think of marriage?
Well, that's an obvious truth there. Psychology or the personality of a person has to do with why they feel what they feel, behave the way they behave, okay, and react the way they react. So, trying to understand a person from these perspectives helps a lot to be able to establish and maintain a long-term relationship.
So it's automatically important to try to understand.
Obviously it is. Because even trying to understand the personality of a person And personality here has to do with those enduring characteristics that the person possesses. And those characteristics have to do with their feeling, their behavior, and their emotions. You see that? So if you understand this, it helps you to understand where their strengths lie and where their weaknesses lie. Even it's so about we ourselves. Trying to understand yourself, your personality, helps you know your strengths and your weaknesses. You can build on your strengths and work on your weaknesses. So also does it help you to be able to help your partner or be able to understand and be able to relate with that partner.
So in psychology, what are the different type of people we have in regard to emotions?
Well, people are there have been several classifications. People have classified people based on their temperaments, based on several other core competencies or characteristics of people. But I think modern day psychologists have agreed on that there are about 5 different types of people.
Okay.
Those that are we refer to. Let me just, maybe I can mention them and maybe try to explain a few of them. Maybe that will be helpful. The people are classified as consensuous people, agreeable people, how do you call it? Extroverts. Okay, extroversion is there. We can also talk about, apart from that, we can also talk about openness to experience. So there are some people who are open. Then of course we have what we call the neuroticism, neurotic people. So let me try to explain this maybe briefly, small, and maybe we'll see what we can do. With a consensus person, what they do is that they are ranked very high on efficiency, and they are all well organized, dependable people. They are self-sufficient. So one of the things about them is that they try to plan their lives or things they want to do in advance. They aim for high achievement almost all the time. Most of the time, when somebody ranks low on conscientiousness, the difficulty rather is that those who rank very low on
that's like a
conscientiousness.
disadvantage.
Yeah, those who rank very low on conscientiousness usually classify those who rank high on conscientiousness as stubborn people. So you will see there are some people who, once they are aiming high, they want the best. You see that other people call them stubborn, too new, and other things. It's probably because they rank high on conscientiousness. So they aim at achieving. And the studies have found out that when you are married to a person who ranks high on conscientiousness, because they will push you to go for the best. Usually you become productive, and you always achieve. More than likely you achieve workplace success.
Okay.
You see that? So that's interesting about that. Then of course we have the extroversion. That has to do with people who are outgoing. Most of the time they are outgoing. They love fun. They are thought of to be talkatives, and in most cases they are as well. And so they like the spotlight.
Okay.
So they are thought of by people to be domineering and stuff like that. So if you are with such a person and you understand who you are with, you see that their public personality comes out most of the time. They draw their strength from social activities. So if you try to cage them, then you have a problem. You see that? So that's why the first question you asked is important. Is it important to actually try to understand your partner? If you understand that this is an extrovert you are dealing with, and you want to be with an extrovert, then you will know how you relate. You cannot gauge an extrovert and expect an extrovert to function at their optimum. They will not. Now, also, there's people who are referred to as what people with they have agreeableness. They rank very high on trustworthiness, kindness. They are very affectionate towards other people. So they are known for their pro-social behavior, like always trying to reach out to help other people. So these are agreeable people. You see that? So if you are dealing with an agreeable person and they want to do good to somebody, and you are like, no. You are the type that likes to keep for yourself. So when they want to share with people, and you try to prevent them, stop them from doing that. You see that you often run into conflict with them just because of who they are. So if you understand some of these things, you support them, you see that they function at their optimum, and you enjoy your relationship also with them. Now, there are others that are persons that are thought of to be open to experiences. They have high openness. They have broad range of interest, and they have vivid imaginations. So they are always dreaming, imagining things, and they are open for all kinds of experiences. So they function at their maximum when you allow them to explore and allow them to function by dreaming, allow them to dream, and allow them to follow their dreams to some degree, and you see that you will have a good relationship with them. So
with this classes of people,
yes.
What are if you are dating?
Maybe let me just talk about the last one, and we are talking about the neuroticism.
Okay.
Yes, and that has to do with people who have high degrees of emotional instability. With them, they can have explosions of anger, of joy, of anything. One moment they are this, the other moment, one moment they are fun loving, they are jumping all around. The other moment it's something else with them, and they are highly reactive and excitable. So when they find themselves in any unpleasant situation, that side of them comes out. And when they find themselves in pleasant situations, that side of them also comes out. And other people may view them as unstable and insecure. See that? So it depends on who is dealing with who.
Okay.
These people usually, there's something very interesting I want to say about them. The neurotic person. The neurotic person usually seeks acceptance.
Okay. Attention seekers?
No,
okay.
I'm talking about acceptance. Attention seeking is different from acceptance seeking.
Okay.
They want approval of people around them. So, for instance, studies have found out that they will hardly post any comment or update on their Facebook or any social media handle that would be controversial. They would rather go with the flow. What everybody else is saying, the most acceptable position is where they are likely to find themselves. They post pictures, numerous pictures on social media, Facebook. You find them posting pictures here and there. So even if they are not happy, they do that, and that makes them happy. Okay. So you see that.
Then they are easy to be handled. It means all you need to do is just accept them and just.
They publish a lot of pictures on Facebook. So that's it. So basically, we have these kinds of persons around. So you will need to know who you are dealing with. That helps you be able to make that decision of, like you said, before I say I do. If you fail to understand who you are dealing with, then you are likely going to have a problem.
So with this class of people,
Yes.
in regards to emotion, what are the best ways of handling, if you're a partner who is dating any of this class of people, how well can you handle these people? Or should you reach a stage you tell yourself that, okay, this person, I just can't handle the person, and then you back off? Or are there best ways of handling all this class of people?
Okay, let me focus on the emotional person.
Okay.
Whether you describe them as emotional or you describe them as dramatic, we say go away with your drama. Whether they are full of drama, or they have anger problems, or they are being too sensitive, or whatever way you describe them, the truth is that living with an emotional person can be very challenging sometimes. However, these emotions are not just, they have causes. Like I said, any of the people I've described above, emotional, dramatic, or whatever, there is a cause for every one of these. And in trying to understand the cause, helps you be able to deal with them and help, or be able to stay with them. So you may become frustrated at the point about how reactive they are to situations, how emotional and how sensitive they may be, and sometimes you come back yourself with anger to meet their anger or their drama or whatever. But I believe that understanding who they are and where they are coming from helps you. But emotional volatility, that's those emotional outbursts and stuff like that, always have a cause. Like I said, it may be out of high anxiety, or its cousin, depression.
Okay.
You see that? Or it may be out of what we call explosion of anger. People have problems with explosion of anger, and explosion of anger also leads people to become emotional. So then that can also be dealt with as a whole condition on its own. How do you call it? Anger and abuse, a combination of anger. People are angry, and the next thing they like to do is they don't only explode, they want to abuse. You see that? So that connection is also there. The person with explosion of anger may be slightly different from a person that has anger and abuse put together, okay, in one reaction. Now, also, borderline personality is a disorder. They are on the border of pleasantness and, let me call it, ugliness. Okay, they are just here. So depending on what is said or what is done, they tilt to either this side or they tilt to the other side. You see that? So you can have a nice person, you'll be having a conversation, nice conversation, and one word triggers something else, and it's at the other end, and you won't like the other side that you've seen. Okay? But so they are just on the borderline of things. Then of course, bipolar disorder, that has to do with depression, a particular class of depression, where you have the maniac side and then the depressive side, where one time they are all nice, excited, fun-loving, running around, maybe doing things without really giving them a thought. Then the other time where they break down emotionally and break down and they will not even get up to do anything. That's the depressive side of it. So the bipolar, there are two poles to their personality. Depending on what happens, they are on one side or they are on the other side, which is different from the borderline personality, where you trip to this side or trip to the other side. Now, so if you know these things and understand where somebody is coming from and what is responsible for a person's volatility, emotional volatility, then it also helps to be able to either support in trying to get them help or in trying to live with them. And when they are on their bad side of emotions, you know what really you can do for them and what you cannot do for them. Now, but coming back to your question, okay, where you asked how do you handle such people in a relationship? One of the best ways to handle them is to listen. When they get so emotional, is to listen without trying to respond or reply. You listen. Listening helps you to understand what really their beef is, where they're coming from, and what really their problem is. So it's one of the best ways. It doesn't help trying to respond or talk back when they get volatile emotionally. And sometimes as you listen, they listen to themselves also, and they realize that I'm overreacting. So it helps them to be able to also put a break on themselves. Now, apart from listening, you need to say to yourself, if you have a partner that you feel is more emotional than you need to tell yourself that my partner has a struggle, is struggling with something. Now, it's easier said than done. I always say that it's easier said that in any situation, keep quiet and just be listening. Or in any situation, just tell yourself, oh, my wife has a struggle, so let me just be on the quiet side. But this is a voiceover that you must allow to play over and over and over the situation when it starts. So when you are used to that, you become a bit immune to whatever they do around you. Okay, you become it. So I think that voiceover, you need to play it over, that my partner has a struggle. So it also helps you to be able to understand that it's not about my partner, it's about something that my partner is dealing with. Okay. You see that? Now, apart from that, when that phase is over, then you need to have a conversation. Okay. You need to set boundaries. This I'll tolerate. That I'll not tolerate. Okay. Next time, when you handle it this way, this is what I'm going to do. Set the boundaries clearly. That's when they are calm. It helps. Setting the boundaries helps. So when they set up on that path again, they know exactly what you will do. Yes. So then when they create a problem, when it happens again and they are unable to check themselves, then they know that, well, this I have created. So the reason I'm saying it will be, somebody will say, oh, just sit and watch them. No, but
for how long will it
keep sitting and watching? Because you are being affected, they are also being affected. Sometimes they take advantage of the fact that you can tolerate anything from them. So you must set the boundary and let them know that please, we can't go on this way all the time. Now, when can returns also, there's another thing that you also need to have that conversation. Quite apart from setting the boundaries with them, you also need to have that conversation of what can I do to help.
Okay. That is after the person calms down.
Calms down. So yes, usually when they come down, they tend to admit that they have overreacted. They have done a few things overboard. So then, what can I do to help you so that this does not continue to recur? You as a partner, you need to go that extra mile to try to understand what you can do next time when this is happening. What can you do for them to help them so that they... So they tell you, well, I hate to hear certain things from you. So I don't, whenever we are having we are arguing or we are talking about certain things, I don't want to hear you talk about this.
Okay.
I don't
maybe it's a word that triggered a reaction.
Maybe a word, or there's always something from her past or his past that you are always coming up with back and forth. So they tell you that no, this, they think you are overdoing this. This is being used against them over and over, and that's why they are being overly reactive. So they tell you, well, you suggest to them sometimes that, well, why don't you see a therapist, maybe a clinical psychologist or something. Okay, so you are there also to help them be able to see a professional, seek help. Most of the time we underplay the help seeking this inadequate behavior. We don't feel, we feel we can deal with everything. But I'm telling you sometimes that some of the things that you go through and you keep believing that you are handling it, you are handling it, they weigh you down eventually, and then the situation comes where unexpectedly you tend to overreact as well by either blowing them, slapping them, doing something because you know you have too much to deal with. So therapy sometimes therapists don't only concentrate on the emotional partner. Also, the other person is being affected.
So it means the person who is reacting to needs counseling.
Yes,
because people justify why they do what they do. Like, I slapped her because she said this, or I slapped him because he did this. So it means it's not just the person who is reacting that needs the counseling.
Both, because I always, at least I've not forgotten my my secondary school physics. Actions and reactions are always equal and opposite in direction. So it takes two usually for any bad situation to come up in a relationship. So we can always talk about what we have done right and what they have done wrong. But if we want to be sincere to ourselves, we also have played a role. Sure. In any bad situation, we have a role that we have played. So therapists focus not only on the person who is deemed to be having a problem, but also on the other person, because sometimes the behavior of one person is affecting the other, or there's something about this person also that keeps triggering eliciting a particular behavior from that person. Now, the one final thing I think you can do is to become the thermostat in the environment. I believe you understand what a thermostat is.
Yes.
Okay, so you need to try to regulate what goes on in the environment. Let's say you are a man and you have a partner who has this reactive behavior, and especially they come up when they are overly stressed. So the kids are saying this one, everything. If they come up from work, they're already tired, they've had a bad day, and then the kids making sure the family eats, everything is okay. So reach out and say, I'll take care of the kids whilst you take care of the cooking. So that also eases the stress on them. And so there you have served as a thermostat, trying to at least regulate what you are likely to get by the next question you ask her. You understand? So you become a thermostat in that sense. Apart from becoming a thermostat, you can also skip certain conversations. They've already had a bad day. You see it all over them. They are already stressed and they are beginning to become depressed already. So there are certain conversations about, let's say, water bill that can wait till the following day or even some more days. So skip conversations. A lot of times people explode because the times of conversations are not right.
Not right.
You see that? So it's situational. In that case, we will say the situation itself has not been health issue. The person may be maybe just generally classified as a overly reactive person, but the situation. So you skip conversations about certain things because that way you don't end up triggering their reactions. So you can become to leave it at this as some of the things you can do. Yeah.
So once again, we are having a conversation with Mr. Setting, and we've heard a lot. See, to be able to have a successful marriage, it's not just about how well you dress, what you cook, and all that. It's about trying to understand your partner and why they behave in the ways that they behave before you even marry. If you study these things about your partner very well, then you will know what you are entering into, and you will know whether you are ready to even enter into it. That is marriage. The show, don't forget, is before you say I do, not I do. There is little you can do when you marry, and there is a lot you can do now before you marry. So, please, any last words for us?
Well, I always say, every time I find the opportunity to talk to people who have not yet married, I've always said to them that, like, one of my inspirations is from Gary Collins. Okay. Gary Collins, in his Christian counseling book, made a categorical statement. He says that it is better to be single and wish you were married than to be married and wish you were single. So it is always important that you take the right decisions. Very often the red flags are raised to us, but we just ignore them. If you have been down that road before, you would understand that, you have seen quite a number of things that you should have taken note of and you should have dealt with. I mean, it's not, excuse my language, it's not by force, okay? It's not by force to be married to be married or to be married to a particular person.
So some people feel, I've dated a person for 10 years, how can I just let her go?
So you feel obligation towards the person to marry the person, whereas you know things are not right. So more than likely, if your relationship is struggling, okay, and you are able to deal with the challenges in time, and you are able to secure some understanding that is helpful, it's far better than to just ignore, I'm getting too old, look, or feel family pressure or anything to just get into any marriage, or situation should force you to want to get into marriage. No, you see, in there is a different ball game. You only need to be in to be able to understand what is in there. So, yes, every man or every woman can be a devil, but you probably need to be careful with devil to spend the rest of your life with. So I just want to say that, well, I think it's a good program, and if we have time, we can explore some more.
Yes.
But for now, I just want to say, let's just be careful and make the right decisions for our life, because it's a lifelong decision that we need to make. If you marry today and it ends tomorrow, you will still be impacted by it. See that whether you like it or not, its impact would be on you. So just take your time and do it and get it right at once.
Thank you so much.
Thank you too.
So our conversation is not going to end here. We are going to call him back here, and we'll have you, our viewers, sit down and ask him questions. I'm sure there are a lot of questions that you may want him to answer for you. We'll create the opportunity where we'll all sit down and we'll ask your questions, and let's see whether we could help you to be able to come out of this situation or whichever situation you are in. Once again, I want to say a very big thank you to my producers, Krista Bolanani, Herita Bija, aka Abenadazi, to my photographer, Pius, to Mata. I'm so grateful to you all. And today, I'm so grateful to have this opportunity to be at Vikashi Hotel right here in Ho. Till next week, let's be in touch. It's bye-bye.